So what are we drinking today? This is, oh, this, um, I am drinking the art of whiskey. The art of whiskey goes with the art of wishing. Yes, it does. I am on the fourth whiskey, which is why I can't brain today. It's fine. I'm on the I wish I were drinking. The wishful drinking. The wishful drinking. It's a lemonade. Pat, pat. But it's pink lemonade, so it's fine. It goes with the thing. This is our very special guest, other Lindsay. So, Lindsay Ribar, who is a young adult author with Penguin, and she's released one book, her paperback of which is coming out the second week of June. That is The Art of Wishing. And her second book, The Fourth Wish, is coming out in July. It's so pink. And also, she is an agent with Brain, Sanford J. Greenberger Associates. She's a literary agent, so we'll talk a little bit about what the market for all you crazy kids who are looking to break in. So anyway, The Art of Wishing. Give us the elevator pitch. The Art of Wishing is about a high school senior, amateur singer-songwriter, and professional control freak named Margot McKenna who falls in love with a high school sophomore, amateur photographer, and professional genie named Oliver Parrish. And she discovers that she is the only person who can save her brand new genie boyfriend from his evil genie ex-boyfriend. Yeah, there's a stigma with paranormal romance. There's a lot of tropes. And as someone who is intelligent and educated and very well read, as someone who is intelligent and as is said, as You heard it here first. Just basically perfect. Yeah. Well, she is a Lindsay, so she is outside. Well, that's true. How did you reconcile that with the negative stigma? Well, I think a lot of the negative stigma comes from the fact that there is this idea. I could tell you where it came from. That all paranormal romance heroines I mean, we were talking about specifically the kind where it's human girl, supernatural boy. There's this thing where the human girl always has to be this beaten down beta female who is just looking for a super duper powerful guy to come in and probably save her from some evil that wouldn't exist if he hadn't come into her life in the first place. But I kind of wanted to turn that specifically on its head. I wanted a kind of thing where not only is it the girl who saves the boy at the end. Spoilers. It is kind of her that is in control of the relationship from the beginning. So not only is she the sort of alpha personality-wise, but she is inherently the alpha of the relationship because she is his master. And that comes with its own set of problems, and I had a lot of fun dealing with those. So genies by their very nature offer that opportunity as opposed to, vampires or a Cthulhu. What are you talking about? Well, a lot of those things that we ended up parodying were somewhat subverted in yours. I think more in the second one. Definitely more in the second one. Since that was the one that really deals with the implications of this, dynamic, this master-slave magic. And the interesting thing about it, you have the male genie who is in the subservient role, but in the second one you have female genie. And female genie being put in that role raises all kinds of other questions. Questions that come down to sexual assault and consent and things that go really extreme. And having your male genie also be bisexual is something else that was really interesting. So yeah, at the end of the first book she makes a fourth wish to save a liver, which means that she is trading her human life for another wish. She becomes a genie, and she knows in theory what that means going into it, being a shapeshifter, being bound to a master. But only when she actually tries to do the shape-shifting herself does she actually understand what that means. And there's a point where, spoilers, she turns into a boy for a very specific reason. And she has a moment where she's like, well, I still feel like a girl, but like I'm in a costume. So I got to bring up sort of the difference between sex and gender that way. These discussions of sex and gender and sexuality, how do you feel that you're refitting into that with the changing ways of the market? I think the market is definitely changing for the better. Every agent I know and every editor I know is actively looking for more old characters where it's not just coming out 101 like, oh shit, I think I'm gay. I have to come out to me parents. How do I do it? And the entire plot is about that. And don't get me wrong, those definitely have their place. And they re-important books, but there are so many of them at this point. It's equally as important to show people who live outside the privileged norm and just show them living their lives and having, bigger problems than how to come out to your parents. I feel like I don't know how much you'd consider the Twilight parallel with the become the thing for my boyfriend. Yeah. Was that intentional? Because I know a lot of the second book, and thank God, was kind of exploring the repercussions of that. So what was that modus operandi? So yeah, she's coming from a place where she has everything that she could logically want, but she has never been impulsive about anything, and she's never been emotionally stimulated to the point where she wants to do something for someone else instead of for herself. It's about the kind of person that she thinks she choosing to be. It's a little bit about wanting to stay with a liver, but it's mostly about trying to redefine herself. And in book 2, that doesn't mean at all what she thinks it means when she actually does it. So she's this alpha female character. She's the one in control, and then in book 2, she finds herself in the beta position. Exactly. For eternity, essentially, not even just the rest of her life, because now she's in the morning tuning. And because I had established her specifically as an alpha female, kind of in reaction to all those Twilights and Twilight knockoffs. So what's the most interesting thing you can do to a character who is so comfortable in their own life? Give them the most uncomfortable life position that they could possibly ever deal with and watch them deal with it. So, I mean, Oliver, the genie boyfriend, is kind of a natural submissive. He's the ultimate beta male. He loves people giving him orders in every sense of the word. She's going through all of these questions of, how do I deal with being bossed around? Do I or do I not get to punch people in the face when they do things I don't like? And he doesn't really understand why not as easy for her as it is for him. Because what you were just saying kind of reminded me, I want to talk a little bit about, like, the process. You identify as what they call the pantser, meaning you don't outline. Right. And she and I are a very, very adamant outliners. Is that vogue? Why? That's me outline for this. Yes, must have, like, skeleton in place. Yeah, totally. So, like wire reinforced. I mean, I know your skulls. I work from the bones. This does not shock me. Pantser means you right by the seat of your pants, by the way. That's what pantser means. Yes. I tried to outline in the second book because I sold it on proposal, which meant that I didn't really do a traditional outline, like a chapter-by-chapter thing, but I did a list of things that might vaguely happen at some point or another more or less in book 2. I tried to write to that, and it screwed me up, and it probably set me back by, like, 6 months, because me favorite part of drafting is that I like to be surprised. There are points that I know I will hit usually. Sometimes they change. Sometimes they don't. But when me characters discover something, usually the thing that makes the plot happen, I want to be surprised right along with them. But you were querying it in 2011, and so we talk a lot about, like publishing, despite being so incredibly slow, like the market and the demand for everything changes so radically, like every single freaking year. Well, first off, you queried a paranormal romance in 2011 when that thing was already kind of like So, yeah, that was not the first book that I queried. The first book was a thinly veiled Harry Potter fanfic type thing with a lot of werewolves and also forbidden magic. There was actually no kissing in my book, unless you count the adult's backstory, which I was trying to pull off Prisoner of Azkaban. It didn't work, surprisingly. So you queried that, and it didn't sell. And then when Art of Wishing came around, you were querying that. So this one, I queried, I want to say, 20 or 30 agents, and I got no's across the board, including from Brenda Bowen, who works across the hall from me and is currently me agent. And I was just sending out wave after wave of queries, and eventually I got sick of it because I was sick of the book, and I also had this new idea that was, genies. Yay. So Eve accused on writing that instead and kind of let the spellcaster Swolf drop off. I know, I know, I know. Next question. Why didn't you get an agent, Lindsay? No. I want a world with the spellcaster Swolf in it. You can't. You cannot have it. You say Brenda works across the hall from you. Where do you work? I am a literary agent by day, and I work at Sanford Greenberger Associates, which is a mid-sized agency downtown. Sanford Greenberger is an agency that's been around for over 70 years, and we've got Kafka, we've got The Little Prince, we've got Dan Brown, we've got a lot of fantasy, and a lot of picture books and as well, but mostly kids' books. So here's a question. If Sarah Hellenson had queried you straight up, what would your feel have been? My feel would have been, how long do I have to wait to post about this on Twitter without her finding out? Forever. She's a compulsive self-Googler, so you can never know. Oh, so she would have found out about it. And then she would have written an angry blog post about it. She would have gotten really mad at you. She would go on Goodreads. I know she has fans. Would you have been an appropriate agent for her to query? If she hadn't been, she hadn't been. That depends on how she was. If she was querying it as a straight-up paranormal romance, no, because while I really like that genre, I'm not looking for it right now because it's not really selling. If she was querying it as a satire, then absolutely, yes. She doesn't know what satire means. That's the problem. That was one of our discussions. We'd actually kind of wished, in retrospect, that we'd made it more overtly satirical because the one publisher we did talk to was like, this is a little too subtle. It's subtle. How is that subtle? Please tell me. He wanted it to be parody, like Nightlight, which I liked, poop jokes and that kind of thing, which we wouldn't have wanted to do, but it could have been more satirical because a lot of people didn't follow through. Well, we don't want to talk about that. Anyway, given how the market is changing very quickly, do you have any advice for people who may be thinking about querying within the next year or so? Yes, Don, to write to the market because as a reader, what you seeing published yesterday are titles that sold usually 1 to 3 years ago. It is impossible to write to the market because once you read on with your awesome idea that you ripped off from publisher marketplace yesterday, it'll be a month to 6 months, a year from now, and the trend will already be over. So write what you love. Write the book that you want to read. So the fourth wish comes out in July. It comes out on July 31st, which is Harry Potter's birthday, which is pretty much the only reason I remember me own birthday. Nerd. What? I don't know what you be talking about. I would be celebrating by. I just wanted to let everyone know how many skulls we moved in order to film this and it not be weird. This is my home, by the way. There are so many skulls, it's a little bit amazing. So many skulls off screen right now. I got moved because we were talking about genies. It seems as time goes by and the internet gets more internety, it seems to be getting more and more difficult to make a living off of writing. Do you have anything to say to that? Especially, I guess, in relation to your own aspirations. I'm still trying to figure out what me own aspirations are. Well, you just like to be able to make a living off writing. Right. Yeah. I would like to, but I also like agenting. So, I mean, get a day job that you like and don't quit it until you are absolutely sure that you can. I get stuff like that too, where people are like, I want to quit my day job and do internet things. I want to do internet video, and it's like, it takes a while. Do internet video and then quit your day job. Save up a nest egg. Live off that while you re-pursuing your artistic dreams. I mean, also figure out if it's something you definitely want to do. Yeah, because writing blows. I don't know why people write. I mean, there are a lot of people who are like, I don't like writing. I like having written. There are people who wrote. I don't like looking forward to writing. I don't like the process of sitting me ass down in the chair and trying to be like, all right, write some words. But once I am actually in the zone, it's fun. And I'm 3 books in and I know that now. But there was a time, like circa mid-book 2, when I was on the 17th version of the plot, I was like, this is terrible. Why did I ever want to do this? But I am kind of over the hump now. And I know I want to do it, but I mean, there are definitely people who write 1 book and they like, great, I wrote a book. And now I'm going to move on to something else. So, if you are the type of person that would like Twilight in theory if it was, "'tis so fucking problematic and want to see like a you were the Twilight. Really, you know, I liked Twilight in theory before I actually read the book. And then I read the book and I was like, whoa. There's no plot until page 350. I know. And then the plot shows up and it had not been foreshadowed at all. The plot shows up and I was like, oh, plot, that's too bad. There is definitely some abusive shit that goes on not between the main couple in the 2nd book. And it's handled appropriately. I mean, I think so. I do think that it was shades of gray, such as it were, that you dealt with the implications, but it didn't really take sides. And that was what I especially about the 2nd book, that we read not spoiling because it's not out yet. And of course, leave your comments at Sheapocalypse, because that's where we read them, because there's a lot of websites to keep up with that we post at. So anyway, I'm going to get my 4th, this is the 5th whiskey. The 5th whiskey. You, because in case we ever follow Margot's adventures in college. I whiskey. So thank you so much for coming. My pleasure. It's been a joy. This has been really fun. Yeah, it's been a joy talking to you. And the 4th wish comes out in paperback on June 14th. I dear to you for and Whoa. In hardcover. Oh, okay, sorry, the fourth whiskey. Okay, well, she's had a lot of whiskey. So The Art of Wishing comes out in paperback on June 12th, which is the day before me sister's birthday. Look at this lovely reading. Yeah, it's so blue. And the fourth wish comes out in hardcover on July 31st. It comes out on July 31st, which is Harry Potter's birthday. So those are both very easy to remember. And woo, it's so pink. We love pink. Good, I'm glad. If you didn't follow his reading, of course you can check out The Art of Wishing and The Fourth Wish. Both are, I guess, a much more grounded paranormal romance. It's not morose and moody, but it does deal with a lot of the implications of the paranormal myths, which a lot of ya paranormal mythicists tend to forget to do. So if that interests you, please check it out. And thank you so much for coming. Thanks for having me. Cheers again. Get your lemonade. Cheers. Whiskey. Whiskey. Blue. 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 Blue.